Hello Ratbags, it's Jade with a ARK video today and actually talking a bit about cryptocurrency and NFTs. God kill me now, the most boring subject in the world, unless you're one of them bros that really is into it and you really think you're going to make a killing on the crypto market, and then everyone else who's actually got two brain cells and think this is all just a load of bollocks. So how the hell is ARK and cryptocurrencies and NFTs actually somehow related?
Maybe getting into blockchain, NFTs, cryptocurrency, game aspects of things that we might be doing with future projects that we're working on. I'm not saying that we're committed to that, but we're looking at a wide range of things that'll just drive our franchise and build it and make it much bigger and better.
I was about to let you go, but you mentioned blockchain and crypto and NFTs. So now it's like, we got to hold on, wait a minute before we go. What are you talking about? What does that have to do with video games?
Well, I think that's what you guys should keep an eye on this for. We're an unbelievably unique plan that that if we pull the trigger on, it will be enormous, and it will fall right into what I said: blockchain, NFT, and cryptocurrency at some point at a later date.
So this old boring white dude is talking about ARK Survival Evolved, and the big news from this interview recently was that ARK is going to be making movies with Vin Diesel, most likely. They apparently have tentative plans to produce at least 3, and it will star the big Vin. That's what I reported on in my survival show, and I gained that information by checking out another YouTuber's video, Kitty Cat LePleur. Now, I ain't gonna lie, I slipped that into my news show. I didn't watch the full interview because I haven't got as much interest in ARK as I used to. I didn't catch the ending of this interview that explained exactly what they want to maybe do and add some of this bullshit to ARK Survival Evolved in future, or possibly its sequel. So why have I got my knickers in a twist? Why was I saying fuck you to WILDCARD on Twitter earlier on today? Well, first we do need to explain what an NFT is, because I bet a load of you guys out there have no interest in this kind of bullshit. An NFT is a non-fungible token. It's effectively making something like a digital art piece, a tweet, something you've posted on a blog or online, and you're making ownership of that item. And you're basically saying that anyone can maybe possibly go ahead and use it, but the original owner of that particular piece online, that footprint, belongs to you. Simplest way to explain: a meme. This meme, Disaster Girl, it's sold for $500,000. The original owner of this photograph had it put up as a digital file, and someone has ordered and bought that. You can copy it, you can use it in GIFs, you can use it in all the memes and replies in Twitter and everywhere else, but the very original one has got a specific entitled code to it or ID to it, and that now lives inside the owner's laptop or in some sort of digital vault. I don't mind this as much. This is like the good version of what an NFT means. It means that people that make digital art, it means that people create something quite special in a digital space, can potentially make some sort of money for it, or at least own it if someone tries to take it or copyright it. And that applies to memes and anything else you can think of that could be potentially shown as digital. A tweet, a quote, whatever you've put on a social media platform, there is a chance you can sell that as an NFT. So I re-recorded this video a couple of times because I want to make sure I got info out. But basically, big behemoths like EA and Ubisoft have already said they're going to look into this kind of stuff, and they can see it as the future of gaming. Of course they do, because they're money-grabbing motherfuckers. They will do anything they can to try and get an extra penny out of you. Whether it's loot boxes, whether it's overpriced skins, whether it's battle passes, for content that traditionally we've always had as part of the game that you buy. These games are not free to play, the vast majority of them, so they shouldn't have this kind of bullshit in them. That said, even free-to-play games are kind of pushing the edge. $20 for a Fortnite skin. Is that really the true cost of that? Maybe if it was the most unique skin in the world, I could almost agree with it. But it is also down how these NFTs are generated, how they're paid for using cryptocurrency. That is pretty much the big problem. But companies like EA and Ubisoft are notorious for basically finding any way they can to take money from you. They're being investigated for their loot box practices and ultimate team practices, and a whole bunch of countries have now banned that portion of the game from being played in terms of FIFA. So yes, what's that still got to do with ARK though? Well, basically, they're ripe for this kind of thing. Imagine having a special T-Rex in the game that's got unique colour systems to it, or maybe some abilities. In ARK 2, for instance, and imagine WILDCARD decide to say that this is an NFT token. It's one of a kind, and there's only going to be one ever made for the game. they're going to set the price for that at something pretty stupid, ridiculous. Maybe it'll be £40, $50 for that one particular NFT dinosaur. And then that dinosaur, that NFT, has a life of its own. It can get traded between other players. And before you know it, you've got a creature, a dinosaur from a digital game, suddenly selling for thousands, maybe even millions in the future. That sounds okay, doesn't it? It sounds like a way for gamers to partake in this NFT and cryptocurrency craze, earn a little bit of money by buying certain skins, seeing if they have value and reselling them on. I mean, if that's going to be the future where you earn digital currency, which is cryptocurrency, and you can actually get paid out in cryptocurrency, which a lot of these NFTs are actually based on, by the way. It's not usually real world money. The people that have sold their memes sold them usually and got lots of crypto money. But you can cash that crypto money out in certain places and actually get real world cash back, or you can invest it further. And again, that kind of sounds okay. What, I can get paid? I can earn something that eventually might translate into real money just by playing my favourite game? Of course, that's the naive, stupid way of looking at it. The reality is this shit will happen. A common garden dinosaur that has been made rare simply because the devs have decided to make it rare by adding it as a NFT will now suddenly sell for hundreds and hundreds of pounds, maybe even thousands, on third-party websites. This is exactly the situation that's happened with games like CSGO and of course Rust. The difference being though that the main platforms that these games actually run on don't actually condone this shit. While it's not completely bannable, effectively Steam have basically said that you've got a tradable item. Your skin can technically be resold, it just can't be resold on their website. And real world money is still harder to get hold of. So what's the difference between this, what we've got right now, and the NFTs? Well, the NFTs, they are effectively more rare. They're being made rare on purpose. You're creating rarity out of absolutely nothing. And it means that game developers or publishers will be able to set the bar on how much these cost, how many are produced, and effectively flood their games with certain NFTs that supposedly have a monetary value. That's a lot easier to buy into than just simply owning a skin. We already know how many people have problems with buying too many skins, microtransactions, battle passes. Kids today, kids that played Rust on console recently haven't got a fucking clue about the problems they're facing because they're getting lured into thinking a game should have all these skins and it's okay to sell them for $10, $15, $20 when it's not. It's been something that's slowly crept into the gaming industry, but in the last 7-8 years has exploded. Games like Fortnite taking full advantage of players with skins when it used to be for free. You used to get a skin for achieving something in a game. Killing 100 enemies, you got a special nice skin. But nowadays, it's all about how much more money these big companies can make out of you. And yep, Fortnite is free to play, so of course that's the argument. You don't have to buy the skins, correct. But you know the nature of kids, you know the nature of the way that gaming has gone down there. From Roblox to Fortnite and Robux, every one of these horrible companies is overcharging for what effectively is a digital piece of art drawn up by a designer that shouldn't be costing nowhere near close to $20. I mean, in a way, if it was an NFT, that might be better. That might actually give it a bit more value. But again, this is all made up bullshit. Now, if ARK aren't going to do this with dinosaurs, and there's no confirmation they will, maybe it's just a case of buying the game, like paying for stuff like skins or microtransactions using cryptocurrency. But as I'm going to explain a bit later, that's still got inherent massive problems. And it doesn't sound like what Doug said in that little interview, that's what they're aiming for, something big and different. So yeah, it'd be a real shame if they do go down that route of offering dinosaurs as NFTs. Now, if you think I'm just some crackpot, I'm too granddad, I'm a right clicker, apparently that's what you get called when you go ahead and right click or save an image, instead of actually going and finding out whether or not you can buy that image as an NFT, shut the fuck up. I'm not the only one criticising this, a whole host of industry leads are taking a stand and saying nope. Valve won't allow currency games like these or NFTs on their platform, although Epic Games Store have recently announced they will. Phil Spencer, the head of Xbox, has said they're not really thinking about this. They feel it's exploitive, that at the moment there's way too many bad faith. Now, they're not ruling it out completely. There could be a future for blockchain, but at the moment there is too much exploitive practices going around with it. There could be a future where NFTs and blockchain money and crypto money could be a bit more valid. It could be something that we could look forward to having. Why wouldn't you want to own a special piece of Ark Survival Evolved, a special unique creature that only 20 of them have been made? It sounds good, it sounds interesting for collectors, moving into a digital space instead of having a fucking wall full of Funko Pops behind you. However, there's just still way too many problems and issues with this at the moment. There's way too many game companies out there and scam artists abducting and just taking everyone's money. There's been a whole bunch of different scams going around involving computer games where you control NFTs or you buy them directly and they face off against others and you basically earn some of the cryptocurrency from your winnings. This particular scam netted 2.7 million, I do believe, in crypto money, which could relate into millions or hundreds of thousands of actual real world money by so many gullible people. And there's lots of these going around. There's so many scams available right now where people are promising to make games based on this kind of idea, and really they're just trying to cash in. They've got no given fucks about how a game actually is, the artistic vision of it, whether or not it's going to be fun or interesting. It's about how to shoehorn this kind of shit to basically rape money from you. Now, cryptocurrency, as I said, I'm not a huge expert, but it's basically generated by graphics cards. That's why there's a shortage of graphics cards, as well as the shortage in chips, because of COVID. A big part of it has been down to the fact that it's just been hard to get these because so many miners use them. You'll find buildings, houses, companies, some people using 20 or 30 graphics cards in one tiny box, and they'll have 50 of them boxes and they'll be generating as much currency as they can. They're computing stuff, they're going through code, and it generates it. That's the simplest term I can come up with for this. This is partly why it's so expensive to buy a PC at the moment too. But the worst thing is it generates a huge amount of pollution. The residual CO2 emissions, the stuff that gets generated because of all the electricity that these centers basically need for all of these hundreds of graphics cards. They're power hungry, they're way more power hungry than most of your appliances in your home, and they are generating so much more pollution because of it. You'll basically find a bunch of pyramid schemes or people trying to convince you that it's okay and that there's safer ways to do it, and they've got ways to set off the emissions by planting 1,000 trees, or that they're using something that doesn't drain electricity, it's using fucking water power, who knows what. It's a load of bullshit. None of this is going back into actual environmental kind of protection or anything like that. These are people out there to make a killing and a mint. And do you think big companies like Activision or Ubisoft or EA give a shit? No, they don't. Selling your meme or owning a piece of digital art, a genuine piece of digital art, is important. As we move through a new age of ownership and basically moving into a world where we don't own as many physical things, it has got a place, but it's still being taken advantage of right now by too many people. You might see YouTubers and other people claiming they've made millions out of it or made enough to buy a house most recently, and probably, yeah, they have. But just for every single person that's made a ton of money from it, you'll find chumps that bought into shit like this who have lost loads. But wait, I'm not done talking about the negatives. Money laundering. Big, small, you think tiny little gangsters somewhere convincing some shop owners to give them some money or to use their stores as a front. Well, that's happening on a bigger scale in all sorts of businesses. People basically creating artworks using Paint or Microsoft and then selling it for 20k, and that money is being diverted into cryptocurrency and then cashed out eventually as real proper money, effectively avoiding all sorts of scrutiny. There are no regulations around this kind of stuff at the moment, or they're coming in but very slowly. Governments haven't set out the full task force, they've not changed legislation, there's basically loopholes galore, and a lot of it is illegal. It's directly contributing to scams, phishing, malware, where people will click on some of these schemes thinking they're going to take part in something that will make them rich, and it turns out it's a hackable thing on their computer that takes their identity and all of their info. These are not all scare stories. These are genuine reports that I've pulled off, as well as obviously this big main article here that I'm reading off. You can go and look out for yourself the amount of people that have been ripped off somehow by cryptocurrency scams in the last couple years. It's an unstable money version of something, and yes, it may grow to be big one day, but they need to sort themselves out. They need to make sure it's regulated, they need to make sure it's complying with the law in all instances, and it's amazing that these game companies want to get behind it, or at least mention it so soon. And now probably for the most important for most of you, how it affects your actual games that you're playing. What is the outcome of these? You know that MTX and loot boxes and battle passes have kind of destroyed a lot of your favourite game franchises over the years most likely. But this will affect the way that games are made. Games won't be made to be played or experienced. Games are already starting to be made just to have you sucked into their ecosystem as long as possible. You must have read articles or seen videos talking about the fact that a lot of game companies now will try and basically manipulate you psychologically to stay invested in their game as long as possible. Whether that's a dopamine hit every 6 seconds or whether it's offering you key rewards at certain times just to make you feel good to keep you playing that 1 minute longer. Why? So that you'll go and buy their MTX, their season passes, their DLCs and any future game packs they're selling. The minute you actually lock off from that stuff, the minute you start taking a break, that's when they start losing money. Bungie lead designer, tech designer at least, outlined some of this stuff recently too. We already know that they're environmentally devastating, extract wealth into the hands of bad actors, and most of these scams are worse. Their 2-level designs are seriously pitched for using NFTs in games, to give players unique items with tracked history, so imagine like the Ark dinosaur. To enable play to earn models where players can earn items and resell. So again, maybe you'll earn the new skin for a dinosaur or the saddle for a dinosaur. The fact is, in terms of a game design, there's no actual benefit for it, and that's what Max goes on to exclaim. Whether or not you make a skin solely a unique item or whether or not it is a copy, it doesn't change or benefit the actual gameplay experience for you there and then. When a game does generate something, maybe it's a special item in Borderlands which has billions of guns. Believe it or not, there is a tracking system for each one of them guns and where it ends up spawning and where it's going to be used, and the game code will be able to decipher that. That doesn't cause any kind of environmental impact. Whereas if that item is actually created on the back of cryptocurrency, if it's bought using cryptocurrency, that item then has to be tracked across the World Wide Web, and that means that is causing much more environmental impact. I highly recommend you go and read this. I will leave this thread especially in the actual comment section. I've taken an interest in this in the last 6 months because naturally I am a creator that works on a very limited income sometimes, prevalent on views, and sometimes I have to think about other ways that I could generate some more revenue. And so of course I did look into this. I saw the hype around it and I thought, right, well maybe cryptocurrency is not that bad. I'd heard some murmurings about it being bad for the environment. But the more I looked into it, the more and more I'm seeing that right now it's not regulated enough. Right now it's a wild west of scams and baits and people just basically trying to hype it up beyond any kind of normal level. Around 70% of you probably clicked off from this video already because it's so fucking boring. It's complicating what is already a complicated idea in gaming. Skins and items and whether or not they have real value. Basically, game companies like EA and Ubisoft will milk the shit out of this. They will sell them special NFT editions of a skin. They'll add ways that you can earn cryptocurrency, but then you'll become so addicted to it that you'll be sitting there for 20 hours just to make 5 cents. That's the kind of shit that could happen with this kind of stuff. They'll sell special editions that are like £150 more, all just so you can own a digital item. Games should be there to be played as a either artistic expression that resonates with people or as something fun to play to keep you occupied for a few hours in your downtime. Games of course can be ways to earn money just like YouTube can be a way to earn money. But it's got to be done in the right manner. Not in a way that's going to be basically predatory. For every penny you may think you might earn playing a game and earning some cryptocurrency, EA and Ubisoft will be making 100 times that from your direct actual input. Effectively making you workers for some of these games, and you get a tiny 0.1% fraction of the actual profits. Sounds a bit like YouTube, to be honest. What is a better experience? A game made with the sole purpose of being as good as it can be, or a game where there's also had to simultaneously upsell you on microtransactions? And then you can swap microtransactions out for NFTs, you can swap it out for cryptocurrency, and it's basically the same argument. We know big AAA companies will take advantage of this. And so when I hear that one of my favourite games, well, used to be back in the day, one of the games that helped my channel grow from literally 200 subs, when I hear that they are interested in getting involved in this, it's a big fuck you from me. I'd have to think seriously long and hard about ever covering Ark Survival Evolved again in any kind of positive light. Because there's so many of the big companies and big bosses around the world saying that this is dodgy, it's scammy, we need to be careful. I'm not saying it can't happen in the future, but as we've seen, there's way too many scams, there's way too much bullshit going around. And until there's actual proper regulation involved, we can't rely on some of the more dubious companies like EA, like Ubisoft, to actually police this properly. And Ark of course want to get involved because they love this kind of brand new shiny shit, anything that gives them a bit of attention. We all love collectibles. I've always loved collecting items and certain things, sticker packs back in the day, whatever the hell it was. I get the idea of this. I'm not necessarily against NFTs as a principled item, but it's just the way that they're generated or they're using cryptocurrency. I'm not being dramatic. I've looked into this. I've read up on it. I've seen a bunch of interviews and a bunch of articles by so many leading game devs, and they're all warning of the same thing. This will have the same sort of horrible, shitty consequences that microtransactions and skins and loot boxes have had on the gaming space, but even worse. I appreciate you're still here for this long ass rant, and it may still just seem a bit weird and it's maybe not going to happen. But from Doug's words, the CEO of the fucking company, I find this pretty incredible, and they'd be one of the outliers maybe hitting ahead of games or companies like EA and Ubisoft. And maybe they've got good intentions. I'm not stating that they don't possibly want to do this in the right way. But then again, I don't think there is a right way for this. It just screams to me of some way to milk players of more of their actual real world cash, converting it into NFTs or whatever the hell it is, and then getting that sold back to you as cryptocurrency or some other bullshit like that. Maybe it will be simply having just battle passes or skins in the future that you can choose cryptocurrency to pay for it. But even that has problems and lasting ramifications. That's still encouraging the use of these when we know it affects the environment so much, as well as all the other problems listed. So yeah, WILDCARD should really think on about this, and I will carry on starting a movement. I really will, because I don't want to see ARK take that route. They don't need to do this, and it will put them well into bed with some of the most evil fucking game publishers in the world. If you want more info, check out the links. I'll post as many as I can to some of the articles I've referenced and read up and showed you guys today. And yeah, I'll see you ratbags later.